Hey, today we have big news about the Illuminate. It seems they're here, but evidence might be getting blocked out by Super Earth. We'll also cover the CEO's response to the current events, his mention of another Q&A session, and there's plenty more to discuss. If you'd like to support the channel, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Let's talk about the Illuminate for a quick second. There's a player on Reddit that knows something quite strange about the galactic war map today. If you look towards the very bottom, there's some sort of new purple outline, which is clearly the Illuminate. However, this has since been changed. I wasn't able to see the update on the galactic war map, but we do have some reasoning behind this because we received a dispatch update that sort of explains what just happened. Right here it says, System Outage Update. Some Helldivers may have noticed a recent service outage in the major order communications display. The issue has since been resolved, details below. System Error Report number 4.23.342. Cause: organic tissue degradation on electronic equipment. Discussion: Comms Technician number R-2342 became stranded in a server farm. Cause of death: exposure. Resolution: electronics replaced. Family of deceased fined for damages. End report. That's kind of messed up. Anywho, now I don't think the developers have made a mistake. Instead, I believe this is a hint that the Illuminate are going to be arriving very soon if they're not already here. The reason I say that is because due to all the outages, we can see that this has revealed what Super Earth has been hiding from us all along, or perhaps they entered through the black hole that was once Meridia, or maybe they've also been here and we've just noticed recently due to the outage. It'll be neat to see how things play out, and I wonder if we'll find out whether or not the Illuminate came here through the black hole, or possibly some other means. Not only do we have a dispatch update on that, but currently we can now use the Napalm Barrage, but it's not available to purchase just yet. We temporarily have access to the Stratagem as of right now, and we know this because the dispatch says, temporary arsenal augmentation. While the supplies recovered by the Helldivers in execution of the recent major order were insufficient to permanently deploy orbital napalm barrages fleet-wide, the Ministry of Defense was able to produce a limited supply of the Stratagem. Thanks to the Helldivers' efforts in recognition of their continued unquestioning sacrifice, the orbital napalm barrage has been made temporarily available to all Helldivers. So what I did after hearing this, I hopped inside my Hell pod and dived straight down onto a planet to test how effective this stratagem really is. I've got to say it's phenomenal. I had a blast using it to see how strong it was against the Terminds. However, I didn't notice if the napalm barrage could destroy or close up the bug holes. The cooldown for it is exactly 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which isn't too bad, especially when compared to the other options like the orbital 120mm HE barrage, which has a cooldown of 240 seconds or about 4 minutes. So with this Napalm Barrage Stratagem, you have a shorter cooldown time. Now, whether this will remain the same once it's officially released is really up in the air at the moment. I'm not sure if it'll stay like this because, as you know, the developers can always change things. My overall thoughts on it are that it's a great stratagem, specifically against the Terminates. However, I have no idea if it's going to be just as effective against the automatons. The cooldown isn't bad either, which I just mentioned, especially when compared to the other barrages, making an exceptional choice. I can't wait to get my hands on it and test it out a little bit more. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this, and if you think it's worth purchasing once it's available. Let's move along and discuss the status update on the Warbonds. Currently, we haven't heard much about it lately, primarily because the developers are focused on fixing the current state of the game and improving its overall quality. With that said, the CEO responded to a player on the official Helldivers 2 Discord regarding the Warbonds. This player was curious if the upcoming blog would mention anything about the speed of acquiring Warbonds, to which Shams responded with, "Not a topic of focus if I remember correctly. The slowing of speed wasn't just to improve their quality, but to fix other fundamental problems. We'd love to pick up the pace again, but need to hit quality first." I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that we probably won't see a new Warbond for quite some time. The fact is, there have been so many issues with the game recently that introducing a new Warbond would be completely nuts, especially since the last Warbond was somewhat lackluster. It wasn't as great as I thought it would be, and I'm sure many of you felt the same way about it. So yeah, I don't believe it would be a great idea to release a new Warbond, considering they haven't resolved some of the bugs, performance issues, and other areas of the game that are just not fun at the moment. For instance, nerfed weapons, or the enemies themselves. Although I will say it would be nice to see something eventually talked about, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Now, how long do I think it'll be before we'll see a new Warbond? I'm thinking at least a month or two from now. If you feel differently about this, make sure to let me know by posting a comment below, and I'll be responding back as soon as I can. On to the next question. This Discord member wanted to know if the designer of weapons is in the same department as the designer of balancing, and that this player felt that the way the weapons are tweaked might be violating the designing direction. Sham saw this and he wrote and said, "You've hit the nail on the head. We've spoken about the importance of direction being aligned across the whole team and there being cohesion. We need to all have the same understanding of what powerful weapons mean. Running a big company and keeping everyone aligned is hard, particularly if half the company is away on summer vacation." Yeah, this is a big issue, right? I felt like for some time the developers were not communicating properly, or more so, Arrowhead was not communicating internally about what the design intent was and how powerful the weapon should really be. It sort of felt like the Wild West, right? Essentially where just about anything goes. So if a developer thought a weapon should be a certain way and doesn't receive any communication about it, then I can see where things can go terribly wrong. At least that's what I'm thinking. The developers are sort of just doing what they wanted to do. I'm sure they were given an idea on how a weapon or an enemy should be liked, but were not given the specifics. At least that's what I'm thinking. For instance, do you all recall when Arrowhead confirmed that the shrapnel was not just your ordinary shrapnel, it was the same shrapnel from the orbital airburst strike, which was the main reason as to why it was so powerful and why the developers had to revert that change. Would it be nice to see the eruptor rise from the ashes and be just as powerful? Sure, that would be nice, but I don't see it happening. So as terrible as it may seem, right now the CEO had confirmed things are going well with the changes, and he responded to a player and wrote, "We had a review of progress today and things are progressing good by and large. Look for the blog post soon for more deets." Speaking of deets, we know there will be a blog post tomorrow discussing all the details and plans the developers have. We know that Arrowhead is going to release a few updates, and they'll talk about all of that tomorrow and how they plan to do it. I know for sure I'd like to see a patch that has some buffs and bugs fixed first before we get any other updates. At the very least, they can do is restore some of the fun before they get into the other issues, whether that's the ragdoll effects or if it's the performance. And I know that seems a bit odd because performance is pretty big too, but I want to see some fun changes and not just nerfs or more talks about fixing the bugs with crashing, right? We'll see how it turns out, but I am not holding my breath, mainly because of the previous patches, but at the same time, I'm trying to remain optimistic about it. But to be completely fair, this is literally Arrowhead's last chance at regaining the community's trust again. If they can do it successfully and bring us all back into the game, I think we're going to see a huge difference. Also, since we're on the topic of weapons, Shams also gave a response to a different player about how it's tricky to make weapons powerful. To me, this seems odd because I don't know how it can be so tricky to just figure out which weapons need to be buffed. Anyway, his explanation can be seen here, where he wrote, "Let's see what the blog posts and patch say. The trick is making weapons feel powerful, yay, but the game not being too easy, boom, maybe more dangerous enemies, maybe squishier divers. Let's see what the team pulls together for you." I'll be honest here, I don't think they need to make the enemies stronger or more dangerous. I do believe the weapons should be useful and not just something you'll pick up and put away instantly. For instance, the anti-tank mines or even the airburst rocket launcher were quite disappointing, and those are relatively new, right? So no, I don't think they need to make the enemies stronger or us weaker, I should say. They just need to make the weapons useful, whether that's an assault rifle or the stratagems themselves. At least that's what I believe. However, some of you may feel differently about that. I just think as of right now, there are certain stratagems that are a bit underwhelming, and we'll find out if the developers can make them a little more interesting. Next up, how about the test servers? Well, there's somewhat news about it. They currently have conducted 2 tests so far and cannot reveal when it's going to be available because of specific reasons. So what is the exact reason behind it? The CEO wrote, "2 tests conducted so far, hoping we'll do a blog post detailing these more soon." Then in a different reply, he wrote it's going to take some more time due to the way the accounts work. He responded with, "It's going to take a bit more time before we can do them at a larger scale. We need a different backend for it so you don't mess up progression on your main account, etc." This right here makes a lot of sense. You don't want players mixing up their stats or possibly carrying over some sort of unlockable that has not been publicly released. That could cause so many issues to where they would probably have to backtrack and figure out what's going on. And if they did, we would probably see another delay on future content, which I really don't want to see. So again, this completely makes sense. On a lighter note, it's cool to see they've already conducted 2 tests so far, and we'll be receiving more news about that specifically. Now, we're all aware of the nerfs, right? Well, the CEO Shams explained that the situation behind the flamethrower is a bit difficult because it's tough for the developers to find a way to make it appear visually attractive while also making it just as powerful as it was before. The CEO said in response, "Yes, some reversions are happening in tandem with Charger's reworks. My understanding is that it's hard to get a flamethrower that looks good, feels right, and works well with the baddies, but it's being worked on." Okay, with that said, no wonder it's taken so long, because they need to figure out how to adjust it properly so it's not all jacked up once it's released. The last thing we all need is another patch that makes the flamethrower worse, which I think that would be hard to do considering it's already in a back edition. Next up, the CEO was asked about whether or not he can reveal anything about the next upcoming patch, besides, issues with the bug's performance. Shams wrote back and said, "Nothing I can share, but we have teams working in parallel on different things. Some are slated for soon, others for later, and others for much later." And whatever they have planned for much later, as he says, that's probably the Illuminate, maybe vehicles, or maybe some sort of stratagem, maybe even something that's a little bit larger than that, maybe some sort of clan system, right? That is what I would like to see, some vehicles, clan systems, and all that good stuff. And last but not least, there's a player on the Discord that wanted to know what happened to the Reddit post that Shams created that was all about the suggestions, and if there was any news on that front. The CEO wrote, "Yes, in fact, or no. No news I can share. Yes, in fact, or no. No news I can share, but progress, yes. It's definitely one thing that's high on the list of priorities being discussed. I was just about to make another post on Reddit asking for suggestions on another topic, but decided to wait until tomorrow." So the thing about this post, I went ahead and checked out Reddit to see if he had made a post or created a post in some sort of way, but no, he has not done that just yet. So we don't know what he's going to post yet, but hopefully it's something about vehicles, because I want vehicles. I know a lot of you are probably like, "Man, we need some fixes, we need some bugs and all that," and I'm with you, but man, we need some vehicles to roam around in. However, who knows, he might just ask the community about suggestions on how to make the game better or what they can do to improve it, which I think we've already sent in some feedback, so maybe he's just, grabbing some more feedback on that. But with that said, I'll let you guys know if he does post anything relating to the blog post, or if there's anything about what he has to say about suggestions and all that. I will let you guys know, so make sure you are subscribed, turn on notifications, and make sure you give this video a like. So with that being said, this is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below. The first comment is by Scythe SKH. Airwit sounds like Dutch from RDR2 when they keep talking about their 60-day plan. I thought that was hilarious. The second comment is by Lucian Mullman 8017. Not gonna lie, AH hyping up EOF by saying it's the biggest patch yet, only for it to have like 3 weapons tuning and 4 stratagems tuning, and 4 untested new enemies has me worried how much of an impact these new patches will have, considering AH calls them not big patches. And last but not least, we have Waveholder. Talks about plans, about discussion, about plans, about announcements, about talks, about updates. I can't take this any longer, just bought Space Marine 2. Speaking of that, I do want to let you guys know that Space Marine 2 is not necessarily the same as Helldivers, so you can't really compare those two. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.